So I decided to make another. So I decided to make another Byrds video today, mainly because I really like talking about the Byrds, and also because I didn't really feel like doing a full review of an album today. I thought I'd do something shorter and easier. Uh, so I just made a list of what I think are the best and worst songs on every Byrds album. This is completely just my opinion. So don't get offended by any of them or whatever if you like a song and I didn't pick it. For their first album, Mr. Tambourine Man, I actually didn't pick the title track. Mr. Tambourine Man is the best song, which I assume most people probably thought I would have. I picked the Gene Clark song, I'll Feel a Whole Lot Better. I like this song, and I like that it's a song that was written by a member of the band, because I think that too many people think of the Byrds as just a band that, their two biggest hits were covers. So I think most people think that they were just a covers group, but no, they actually had, a lot of really great songwriters within the band, and Gene really especially stuck out early. So the best song on the album, I'm going to go with I Feel a Whole Lot Better. The worst song on the album, for me, it's the other Dylan cover of All I Really Want to Do, and I don't know why, but I just never really liked it a whole lot. I mean, it's not bad, but it's definitely my least favorite song on the album for some reason. I can't really explain why on that one. It just doesn't really. I don't know. Compared to the other songs in the album, I just don't like it as much. It's still a good song though, but it's not one of my favorites. All right, so for the second album, Turn Turn Turn. For the best song, I wouldn't pick that either, even though it was a #1 single for them. I picked the another Gene Clark song, Set You Free This Time. So for their second album, Turn Turn Turn, I'm actually not going to pick that song either, even though it was a big hit for them. I'm going to go with the Gene Clark song, Set You Free This Time is the best song. I just really love that song. I think it's a great piece of songwriting from Gene and a great performance by the band. So I'm going with that as the best song. The worst song, Satisfied Mind. I rant about that in the review of the album, which I may redo that review someday. I'm not sure, but if you want to see what my opinion on that song is, watch that review. For their third album, Fifth Dimension, I'm going to say the best song is 8 Miles High by far. That's just such a great song by the band. And it's really cool because it was a kind of a collaboration with Crosby, McGuinn, and Gene Clark started the song, and then those guys helped finish it. And they didn't really write together that much, but that time that they did on that song, it might have been like the best song they ever did. So that's just really cool, and it's kind of a shame that they didn't write together more as a group like that. Another thing I kind of want to mention about that album though is the song Fifth Dimension. 8 Miles High is a lot better, but Fifth Dimension is kind of like, if there was a second best song on the album, that would probably be it. So I kind of just wanted to mention that song. But anyway, the worst song on the album for Fifth Dimension is, I think, the Learjet song, just because it's kind of a short thing that's almost like not really a song. And I know they were trying to do something serious with it, and they had like the sounds of the jet engines, which is cool. But it's just kind of not really like a full song, so that's just why I pick it. And that's kind of, a lot of the stuff on this list I like, even though I pick it as the worst thing, because I like most of the stuff this band did. So, anyway, the next album, Younger Than Yesterday, I'm going to say that the best song on it's Renaissance Fair. It's just a really cool song. I think if I remember right, it's Crosby and McGuinn wrote it. But it's just really cool, like describing a Renaissance fair. It's got a really cool bass line, some great guitar parts, really good song. The worst song on the album I'd say is probably CTA 102, which again is something I actually like, but it's another kind of short, like, fragment. It's not really, like, it starts out and has a part that I think would actually have made like a really catchy song if they kept kind of going with it, but then it kind of just goes into all these weird alien sound effects that, you know, sound like they're from the 60s, which I think's cool. It's probably not for most people, but that's probably the worst song, which is something I still like. But so the next album, Notorious Byrd Brothers. This one, well, this and Younger Than Yesterday, it was really hard to pick best and worst because actually, before I move on from Younger Than Yesterday, I do want to mention the song Time Between. That was my next choice. If I hadn't have picked Renaissance Fair for the best song, I would have picked Time Between. So it was really, really hard to choose between those two. It was like Younger Than Yesterday is just such a good album that it's really hard to pick anything. Same thing with Notorious Byrd Brothers. It's such an even album for me that trying to pick which song's the best and which song's the worst is really hard. So, best song on Notorious Byrd Brothers, I'd go with Dolphin Smile. I think it's a really cool piece of writing from Crosby, so that's the best song. The second best song that on this album was even harder to pick. No, I'm not really picking second best songs, but if I had to mention like another song on it, I just wanted to bring up Get to You was kind of close to me, trying to decide which one I liked better, that or Dolphin Smile. Excuse me. The worst song on the album, though, is probably, I just kind of had to randomly go with Space Odyssey. I don't actually think it's a bad song. I like it quite a bit, but it's kind of just got some weird sounds in it for the background, so I don't know. That's why I picked it, but it's not really a bad song on the album. I just had to go with something, so that's it. I didn't even put a question mark by it on worst because, like, I don't know, there's not really a worst on this album. So for Sweetheart of the Rodeo, the best on this one, this was really hard for me too because it's another album I really love almost every song on it. And, you know, part of me really wanted to go with Hickory Wind because I love Graham Parsons, and that's, you know, song's such a kind of a big deal in his music. And another part of me wanted to pick You Ain't Going Nowhere because it's, you know, probably my favorite Dylan cover that they did. But I had to go with another song that I like even more than those two, so I had to go with 100 Years From Now, another Graham Parsons song, which is just, it has a little bit more of a rock feel to it than Hickory Wind. So that's kind of why I pick it, just because I liked hearing that lineup of the band do songs that rocked a little bit more, and that was like one of the few ones that they did. So that's my favorite song on that album. And for the worst song, I would have to go with The Christian Life. Not that it's a bad song, just that the lyrics are really cheesy, and that's about it. You know, it's just, I mean, I never skip it on the thing, so it's not really like a worst song. I think it's cheesy songs. Anyway, the next album, Dr. Byrds and Mr. Hyde. Dr. Byrds and Mr. Hyde. My least favorite Byrds album. I would say that my pick for the best song is Drugstore Truck Driving Man, which was, you know, written by Graham Parsons with Roger McGuinn. I think it's the only song that I know of that they collaborated on. So that's another, like, two guys I would like to have seen work together more. It's kind of a shame that this lineup only did one album. But that was kind of Graham's fault, I suppose. But anyway, yeah, Drugstore Truck Driving Man. I really like it. I think it's the best song on the album by far. It's just a fun song, especially with the story behind it and everything. I think it's really funny that they kind of took a dig at that DJ for not playing their record. The worst song on this album, I had to go with "Child of the Universe." This song for me is just, I can't remember if I talk about it in the what I say about it in the review, but it's like the song works for me in parts, but parts of it don't work. Like there's these loud echoey drums that kind of come in that kind of just sound ugly to me, and there's this like "or that she exists" line that they sing that to me doesn't seem to work. Like, I don't know, it just within like the structure of the song, that particular line kind of just screws it up for me. It doesn't seem to work. It doesn't seem to fit right. I don't know. That's just my opinion on the song, but yeah, that's my pick for the worst. Ballad of Easy Rider. Best song on this one, I debated between the title track Ballad of Easy Rider and Tulsa County, and I actually went with Tulsa County just because I love the Clarence White guitar playing on that song. It's really, really awesome, and that's the song I usually put on when I'm like trying to explain who Clarence White was to people. I'm like, oh, listen to this. So that song's really cool. The worst song on there, I just kind of, and I don't really dislike any song on this album, but I just picked There Must Be Someone, not because like, and it's not a bad song, but to me, it's just kind of boring, kind of, just doesn't draw my attention. It kind of like puts me to sleep a little bit, which, that's not a bad thing really. So, the next album, Untitled, I didn't include the live tracks in this because most of them are on other albums. So for this, I picked the best song I picked, can't talk. The song I think's the best song on this album is Just a Season. It's just a really great song. If you want to hear what I think about it, watch the review, I guess. The worst song, I picked Hungry Planet just because it's kind of weird. This album, to me, I do really like the studio stuff on it. I wouldn't single out any songs on it as great, I don't think, other than Just a Season and Chestnut Mare. Those two definitely for me, I think, are great songs. The rest of the songs are just kind of okay, but that works to me because they're together. They make something kind of cohesive that's better than what they are on an individual level. But yeah, I'm rambling. But anyway, those are the picks. The best song on Bird Maniacs, which, Bird Maniacs, if you watch the review, is the album that I will defend forever. Is not as bad as what people think. I really love this album. But I would pick the best song as Kathleen's song, ballad from Roger McGuinn and Jacques Levy. I just think it's a really beautiful ballad, and I really love the way it works with the production that Terry Melcher did on this album, which again gets a lot of criticism, but I think really works. I would argue that that's like the reason the album's successful in my mind is the production, which I know people hate, but I say, give it another chance. I think it's really good. But anyway, I have a thing for loving to argue on popular opinions. So the worst song on the album, I would say, is probably Tunnel of Love. It's just kind of boring, and it's to me, it's a song that doesn't really fit with the rest of the songs on the album. It's one of the Skip Batten, Kim Foley songs, which are always usually the weakest songs on the album. I mean, during that part of the band. That I've kind of been skipping when there have been lineup changes in the band while I've been mentioning this too, and I probably should have been more clear about that since there's so many lineup changes in the Byrds. But you know, if you want to hear more about that, watch the individual album reviews, because I do think I mention who's in the band before talking about the albums. I think at least. So then farther along, which is the last album of before the reunion album, my favorite song on that one is Bugler. It's got a really good Clarence White vocal on it, probably the best he did with the band. It's got some really good mandolin playing on it by him also, I think, and it's just it sounds like the best produced song on the album. I know they said that he purposely messed his vocal up in the beginning on the song because he thought that they were rushing it and he wanted to take his time and make it better. So then he did that, and like the song really kind of shows it. It sounds like the best produced song on the album. The worst song on that album is probably definitely America's Great National Pastime. It's another one of the Skip Batten, Kim Foley songs, and it's just doesn't sound like the Byrds. I don't know. It's like I kind of like it sometimes, and then I don't know how to feel about it. But it's the worst song on the album. And then for their final album, the album of the original lineup came back together for. It's the best song. I picked the Gene Clark song, Changing Heart, which really, I can't think of much to say about it right now because I haven't listened to it recently, but that's always just been the one that stuck out the most to me. And the worst song, I picked the Chris Hillman song, Borrowing Time. I don't really know why, but this is another album it's pretty even. I mean, I picked this as the worst song. It's not a bad song really, it's just, to me, it's not very memorable, and it's not like very catchy, and it just kind of goes by and doesn't leave an impression. So anyway, that's the list. So